Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
What is happening, Rush Nation? It is Friday night, unusual night for us to start the Premier League, but don't worry about that because there's already been VAR controversy. There's already been racial abuse. Turn that crap off. Tune on here. There won't be any VAR controversies. There'll be some hot takes, but we'll be able to justify them at the very least. And also, if you're interested in winning your fantasy league, winning your money, you'll want to be tuned in here and not worried about the nonsense that's on the telly right now. Because I have got an absolute baller of a guest here. Somebody who's a very good personal friend of mine, and I'm so pleased we've got him on. Something we mean to do a long time, but, you know, you relocated, I've been sick. It just kind of never really happened. But we got him here. We have got the runner-up to Scott Fish Bowl 8. We've got the two-time Kings Classic champion, beating me in one of those, which I've never forgotten since. And also your current 2024 Warrior Bowl champion. It's Kurt Holiday. Welcome to 5 Yard Rush. How are you, my brother?
Hey, man, I'm honored to be with you, man. Anytime I can hang with you, it's a good time.
I don't know about that, but we'll take the praise right back.
I'm so ready to be announced as the FFCC champion, but we'll have to see how that works.
It's probably one of the only tournaments you haven't won, right?
The funny thing is, let me just stop for a second. So the year I finished second in Scott Fish Bowl by 0.23, by less than a yard. Mm-hmm. I was 0-16 in another league I was in, right? 2 years later, I was in Stefania Bell's deal. She beat me by 100+ points twice. So, yeah, I mean, I am a champion, but I'm also human. So sometimes I win, sometimes it's not so good. But,
forever humble. I love it, my man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but listen, I think at the end of the day, you know, I know, having had a lot of deep runs in these sort of big tournaments, you know, runner-up in the Warrior Bowl, top 5 finishes in multitude of these charity leagues, that it is incredibly hard, and it is sort of that luck that kind of tips it one way or the other. You're unlucky in Scott Fish Bowl. That luck probably came back and got you in Warrior Bowl this year. And I think it is just, you know, when you get down to the final, it is that little element of luck to once you're there. That part I think is more skill, the final itself, because so many of the same players exist in other lineups. It's not like a regular fantasy league where, you know, you have a scenario where you have a unique lineup and it's just who performs the best on the day. It's fractions of a lineup. I remember being in the Warrior Bowl when I had that was the year that Alvin Kamara scored 6 touchdowns. So I had Alvin Kamara.
Who did he score those again? Do you remember?
I thought I'd mention it.
It slipped my mind.
So he scored 6 touchdowns, and it was early because it was like the Christmas Day game. So it was a strange one because that happened, and then it was like, well, that eliminated 2/3 of the finalists. But there were still 4 people that had Alvin Kamara. So then, right. And then like it came down to the final 3 was we all had Kamara, we all had Josh Allen. I think the guy who won ended up having Diggs. That was kind of the difference. And Diggs scored a late 4th quarter touchdown, and that was the decider. But it's just that I think that's just it. It's just one of those things. But you still have to put yourself in the position. And the reason I want you on here is you've gone so far in so many of these tournaments. You've won them, you've not won them, whatever it might be. But you're in the position to win them. And I think that's what our listeners want. They want to get a bit more of that solid advice to understand how to go deep in these tournaments. And I think this will be a great opportunity to do that this time of the year. And even just not the tournaments, it was just the knowledge that you'll impart to help people through their fantasy journeys, I think will be crucial. But before we get into that, I just want to get a little bit into you, my man, because you've got such a fascinating history, and you're well traveled. You've lived in many different places all over the world. Like, But how does a guy from South Africa end up, playing fantasy football and getting into all of that?
Yeah, so I was in South Africa for 24 years, in Johannesburg as a missionary. Man, just love telling people about Jesus and just hanging out. I mean, South Africans are amazing people, and we had a little bit of free time on Sunday nights after a long day in church, and I just got into football. I used to be a fantasy baseball guy when I was in the States, but the season's too long and it's just way too complicated. You got to change starting pictures every day. It seemed like, whatever. And so yeah, I missed America. I loved Africa, but I missed America, and one of the ways to get back into it was to spend some time doing fantasy. And instead of watching just the Vikings play, I was interested in a lot more games, and yeah, it just gave me a lot of joy to kind of think about what was happening in the States while I was hanging out with lions and leopards and stuff like that.
Not a bad part of the world to be in, for sure. And
yeah,
it's such a fascinating journey you've been on. But how do you in the middle of a bush effectively get this kind of content where you're able to keep up? Is it like, are there bars in Johannesburg that have TVs on with the games, or are you having to stream it on laptop? Like, how do you even it was keep up to date? And especially like in the early 2000s, how do you keep up to date?
Yeah, I streamed it on laptops. Yeah, there is no, well, in Joburg you're not going out at night anyway, so that would not be a safe thing. And if there was a bar that was open, they wouldn't be playing NFL. So yeah, I think I mostly just did it on my couch in my chair, just watching games. I love football. It's interesting. I was at my parents'. My dad died in October, so it was Octoberish, and man, they had every football game on, and they just love football. And I didn't realize that I didn't realize how much they loved it until then. It's weird too. My dad was so old that he wasn't a Vikings fan because the Vikings didn't exist. So he cheered for the Packers, and then eventually moved to outside of Waco, Texas, and now then he turned into a Cowboys fan. The two teams I hate the most, like passionately dislike, is the Cowboys and the Packers. So yeah, my dad and I didn't really see eye on teams, but we loved the game. So I'm rambling a little bit. Yeah, we had a like a family league, and that was good. That was fun. It just kind of broadened from there. I met a couple guys on X that had a league. I jumped in it, and there was a time where the two things that were the most important as far as creating new leagues, and I think during COVID we all started a couple leagues, was charity. And I love that aspect, man. I love giving to the Warrior Bowl, JTTC, all those guys. I'm afraid I'll leave somebody out. Scott Fish, like, I just enjoy doing the charity thing. And so that's good. That got me in a lot of leagues. And then there was a season where everybody wanted as many people from as many countries as they could get. And there's only about 4 of us that played fantasy football in Africa. So I was a pretty easy find. And so then I won a couple leagues and that kind of stuff. And that was really helpful. So I go back far enough. Matthew Berry's the only guy I knew. And obviously ESPN was pretty much the only content that there was that I knew of in Africa. I didn't even know guys like you existed at that time. I thought it was all corporate. So I followed Matthew Berry for a while, watched CBS some, turned into the Ballers. I just liked their approach was more fun than just raw stats and stuff like that. Then I heard about Fantasy Pros expert ratings. So I started following John Paulson on 4for4, that kind of stuff. And in honesty, a lot of it's relationship based too. And that's one of the reasons I love fantasy football. I saw Joe Bryant from Football Guys tweeted about feeding the homeless, and I was just like, "What? That's amazing!" Like, Football Guys, I didn't even know who they were. I didn't know it was a big website as well. I'm not a huge tech guy, so I'm not a big website guy. But I did that. Gareth Price on Dynasty Nerds talked about his faith, and I listened to those podcasts. I thought that was pretty cool. I did a pros versus Joes contest with Jim Coventry, who's an amazing guy. I love Jim Coventry.
Unreal.
Yeah, you and him are the only two guys that called to check up on me after I had my operation last week. Had my labrum redone, and then somehow Dave Richard, I guess on his podcast, said, if you buy my mother's book, I'll let you in my DMs. Why not? So I bought his mother's book, and I was in his DMs. And funny story. So when I was in 2008 or Scott Fishbowl 8, I'm tweeting him. This is the biggest thing I've ever done. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to look like an idiot. I can do that on my own. So I'm writing him, what should I do? I think I was at 10 or 11 in the turn. He's like, no, you need to go with Kelsey. I'm like, man, I can't take it. Come on, man. I can't take a tight end in the first round. Are you kidding me? And finally, I'm sitting there going, Kirk, you're an idiot. You asked him for help, and now you're not going to take his help. So I took Kelsey. Well, then I think it was 3 or 4 rounds later, Mahomes was there. And I basically took Mahomes as a stack. But this was the year he broke out. So nobody, like, he's not who he is today or who he was a couple of years ago. Maybe he is who he is today. And so that stack really rode me to the finals. I mean, I remember watching the game, the championship week. He overthrew Kelsey by about 6 inches, and Kelsey would have walked 30 yards to the end zone. And I looked at my wife and said, I just lost the Scott Fishbowl. And she looked at me like, you're an idiot. It's the first game of the. I said, no, man, that just cost me like 30 points. So yeah, it was guys like that. And then, so much that Jenna Kane, my wife, and I flew to London, hang out with you, and draft Scott Fishbowl in London. That was amazing, man. That was unreal. I met so many people there and had so much fun. It's like, if you haven't done a live draft, I highly recommend it. It's just, I did one in Nashville last year. I couldn't do it this year because it was Sunday morning. But, man, I loved hanging out at, I can't remember, Tailgate or whatever it was in Nashville, and just meeting some guys and drafting a team. Man, it was a lot of fun. And that's what fantasy football should be. And honestly, I've won enough tournaments that I have fun at times. I have as much fun. Look, if I lost in the finals to you this year at King's Classic, I would still have fun.
So would I, but I'd also be really angry if I didn't win this year. Yeah. No, I'm missing a belt. You've got.
I said if you beat me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm just flipping the roles.
Look, I want to win. I really do want to win. Yeah. I'm prideful. I'm arrogant. I'm all that kind of stuff, right? But if I lose to a really good friend, it's been a good year, man. Scott Fish got some money, or whoever. I don't remember who the money's going to this year in King Classic, but I think
it's going
relationships, friendships, and fun is a huge part of it.
Yeah, it's obviously going to Anthony Cervino's.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say
family after what happened with him last year, earlier this year, which was just tragic in June.
Yeah,
41
Fantasy
years old.
Taking some hits, man. I mean, I remember tags and just.
Well, here's the thing in the King's Classic, right? For those who are listening who are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. King's Classic is run by Bob Long, who runs Fantasy Football Expo, and it started out as a league where if you were at the Fantasy Football Expo and you were an expert, you ended up drafting as part of the Saturday festivities, and so people would go and watch, and those pros would draft. It was one league, and then it was two, and then Bob messaged me. It must have been 2019, 2020. I can't remember. I think it was some point around. It was before COVID. It was definitely before COVID. It must be 2019. And he said, "Look, I want to do a third King's Classic division, and I want to do half and half. Half for the people that are in the room, and then half for international folks." And he said, if we do international, can you help me fill it? I said, yeah, of course. And so that's where I was like, well, you got to get Pete and Kurt in. And then you got to get, I suggested a bunch of guys. Lewis Glover was in it from Oz, even though he's English, based in Oz. When we rep
a couple of Canadian guys were in it.
Yeah, Matt Donnelly was in there, Canadian, but he goes every year, and then And then what happened was for COVID, it started being the experts who normally go, who can't make it, fall in that division, and then us of our Mauricio Gutierrez was another one. There's another guy, but again, he goes every year, so now he's in a different Kings Classic, right? And since we've done this, pretty much every year, I think last year was the only year that the prize money went to actual winners, because every year it has gone to somebody who passed in our community. It went to obviously Tags, who was in my division, and he was supposed to go to the expo, and then he got COVID. So he said, I can't go, I've got COVID. And so he drafted with us online. I was in that draft with him. He wasn't particularly well, but he felt okay. And then like 3 weeks after he drafted, he never recovered. Like he went into a coma, and that was it. And you just think, man, I just drafted in the league with this guy. Like he'd been on my podcast earlier that year, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. And and we've lost a few along the way. I know Emil, we donated some money to last year. Bob Harris's longtime partner and stalwart of the community, Anthony Servino this year. There's been a lot of people, unfortunately, and I think, but you've hit the nail on the head. It's about friendships, it's about community, it's about family, and it's about sharing those moments. And I think that's what does make this special. Like I remember a couple of years ago, you and I did Podathon together. And I think it's all those sorts of experiences, man. When you came over 2 years ago to the live draft, I just got out of hospital, and right, I said to my wife, she's like, "You're not going," and I said, "Kurt's here, I'm going. I don't care." I was like, I'm not missing a chance to meet Kurt in person. Like, it's not happening. I have to be here. And she honestly was like, I can't believe you're 5 weeks out of hospital. You can't walk. Like you can't go. I was like, I'm going. I don't care. Like I'll stay overnight, and I came down the night before. We drafted. We had a great time, and it's those things. And I fully put down that day, not just meeting you, but being out with friends. Fast forwarded my recovery quite significantly, because I just needed to be amongst family and love and friends and feel normal. And it was the first time in about 6 months I'd felt normal. Like it was something that wasn't associated with colitis. And I think that is what makes it powerful. And that is fantasy football in a nutshell. Is people, I want to win, you want to win, we all want to win, but at the same point, we're all going to be really happy for the guys who win, and we're all just going to have a good time playing, which, that's kind of what it's all about. But what would you say for you? And I think before we get on to some 2024 lessons, some 2025 strategy, what for you is like, you have so many deep runs in tournaments. You're always sort of there and thereabouts, and in leagues too, tough competitor. What is your strategy? What is the way that you like to sort of build your teams and construct teams to pull your squads together? What is your sort of, if you had to put your style, your strategy into like a little couple of sentences, what would you say your aim is doing?
Yeah, in a couple sentences, I would say I'm a QB early guy in SF. I can wait on the second one, but I have to have one the first or second round. Look, the answer to your question is know the rules of the league before you start drafting. I had a pretty good FFCC draft this year, and then I realized, oh wait, we start 2 kickers, and so I don't know. I'm toast.
And they're not just start 2 kickers; they're quite high in scoring.
Well, we'll see. I'm trying this new thing, and I remember the first time I heard 0 RB, I thought the guy was completely lost his mind. I was like, "What are you talking about?" So my deal is I gamble on rookies, and I listen to a lot of sleeper stuff, and the more somebody moves up a tier or two because they went from he might do something to there's an injury, he probably will do something. I try to get those guys on my team. I, I think if you're in a league, I think trading is huge. If you're in a fab league, you've got to have some fab and change your roster as much as you can. When you're married to your roster, it can be problematic because most of those guys make a change 1 or 2 weeks too late. Somebody actually started doing waiver wire for next week, not this week. Some podcast. I'd love to give them credit. I can't remember who it is. That's a skill to get a guy early when nobody's thinking about him, and then all of a sudden you get to waiver wire and you're like, "Wait, Murf got him last week. What the heck?" So staying ahead, it's fluid. It's not a cement league, right? You're gonna be changing fairly often, and so I think the more you do that, the better it is. And because the team you draft is not really going to win it by itself, or the starters. And even at best ball, your bench better be really. It better be some guys that can pop. I've had times at best ball I take 5 quarterbacks because I figure I don't know who these last 3 are. Maybe one of them will be decent that week, but you've got to have some good guys before that. So I think fluidity, I guess, is me. And like super flex going a little bit early. So I think there's few quarterbacks and few tight ends. And so I don't force tight ends, but if I can get a tight end early, I'll do it and try to make up for it later.
Yeah, I think it's good advice. And we've said it for years that, the thing that annoys me most, and I think the biggest mistake you can make in fantasy football, is taking draft capital into the season. I drafted this guy in the 6th round. I'm not trading him for something else. And you're like, it doesn't matter where you drafted him, in a redraft league. His value is up or down, regardless of what it is. It's, as you say, it's fluid. But draft capital dies the moment that the draft ends. It's not relevant where you take them. They are players in the league, and they're ever-changing values. And I really hate it when you're trying to do trades in leagues and they're like, I can't trade him because you took your guy in the 12th round, right, and I took my guy in the 6th round. That's not fair. And you're like, well, I'm trying to give you a position that you need and take a position that I need. And both of them are performing equally about what they're worth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the guys that I don't like to play in leagues with are the guys that have to win every trade.
Yeah.
Like it can't be a tie. They have to win it. It has to be obvious that they made the best trade. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. Like, let's help each other. And they're like, nope, that would be a tie. I don't tie, I win. So you're trying to win the league, not the trades, right? Anyhow. Sorry, I'm on.
Yeah, but you're right. But you can't win leagues without working and trying to navigate your way through. And there's many different ways to do that. Winning on the waiver wire is important. Getting good trades, but equal trades works. But you got to just navigate your pathway to victory. And I think that's such a common thing. I think it's the hardest thing to do in fantasy football is what you said, fluidity. Too many people get hung up on previous experience or current experience. And they're like, the saying I hate more than anything is I won't draft this guy because last year he did this to my team. Yep. Like last year's last year, right? You can't hold on to sentimentality in fantasy football. That's not how this works. You have to keep, as you say, things fluid. And, I think you don't want to draft someone because you looked at something differently. That's fine. And you learn and you evolve. But not picking someone because they hurt your team last year is just kind of it's a fool's errand. Like you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting anyone else. Like it's just this. The other thing that I always find hilarious is when people say that they are getting sniped. Right.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, I've said this for years. I've written about this in great length. That I treat drafts like poker, right? And basically, by telling people that you've been sniped, you're basically telling the room free information that you'll get nothing in return for. Yeah. So by telling people you're getting sniped, you're revealing to them your strategy. Well, I'm in on these sorts of players. This is the sort of player I'm trying to build a roster around, right? It makes it for the Sharks in the room a bit easier to kind of work an edge. And I'll never forget, I was in a draft with a bunch of randoms, and this guy said he'd been sniped 3 times. And I looked at it, and then I thought, he's drafting off Adam Rank's rankings. And he was. He drafted off Adam Rank's rankings. So what did I do? Is I literally started thinking about ways to really cause a world of pain. Because I ended up basically disclosing who he was going to take before he took him.
That's exactly
And then
right.
he was in the right quandary, because he was like, I either have to take the guy or I have to go somewhere else. And you put him in a world of pain. And he said to me afterwards, he's like, how did you know? I went, because you gave me the information. Like, you've told me that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that's it. Like, eventually, you know, it's about, you just got to be careful. You do it once and you probably get away with it. But it's just that piece of information, I think, is something that could get you into a bit of trouble. So, but, you know, different horses, different courses. It's just, these are the tips and tricks. And so I guess while we're here and I'm picking your brain, I want to know a little bit more around some of the lessons that you learned in 2024 that you're going to apply to this season. What is it that you're taking away from last season to apply to your strategy for this season?
Yeah, so I think weight on quarterback is a huge one for me. Peter picked for us last week in the Kings Classic, and we ended up with the Cowboys quarter, Prescott. We ended up with Prescott in both leagues. I probably would not have wanted to wait quite that long, but yeah, that's probably mostly because I'm not a Cowboys fan. But I think if you take Prescott late in the draft, you're getting more running backs, you're getting more wide receivers. In Kings Classic, don't we start 3 wide receivers and 3 flex, or is it 2 and 3? There's 3 flex.
It's 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 flex.
Yeah, 3 flex. In that league, you're literally your 3rd flex spot is huge. And if you can wait 2 rounds and get a quarterback that can help, I think that's huge. So that's how I've applied it this year. I have never really been a tier guy, but I'm getting more and more into it. And maybe that's what helped me last year in the Warrior Bowl was I can wait as long as that guy is in that tier, and then I've got to take him and move on to something else. I always thought if you had the best quarterback, the other guys would take care of themselves, and I think it's the complete opposite now. If you have a good quarterback and your wide receivers and running backs are better, that makes a much better team. And even I started to use some tight ends in flex. If you're 0 RB, you can start tight ends and flex. That the tight end you would get at the same time you get a running back is probably going to score more points.
Yeah, I think it's really a case of, it depends on the league, it depends on the tournament, it depends on the structure, in that. In something like the Kings Classic, it's 14 team, to let people into who was in there in the room. It was, you and Peter on one side, it was me, it was and Danny. Danny drafted with me, one of our Patreons, because we all had COVID and I wasn't sure if I could survive the whole draft. We had, John Hansen was in there, Marcus Mosher was in there, Jeff Mans was in there, Hannah Rowland was in there, Colm Kelly, Chris Prince,
right,
Michael Huff, Jesse Morris was in there. Jesse Moore, sorry. There was lots of, it was a stacked room, and there were others as well. And it's really hard because there is no value to be had in that room unless you get incredibly lucky or you take some risks. And, I read your team out here. You took GT round 1, you're picking 8 in the 14 teams. You went GT, McBride, Kamara, Sutton, Ridley, Jacoby Myers, Jaden Reed, Rashid Shaheed, Austin Eckler, Dak Prescott, as you said, round 10, pick 133. Hunter Henry, Christian Kirk, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Geno Smith as your backup, and then Miles Sanders. So what sort of, I mean, I know you said Peter did most of the picks, but kind of what the thinking was when you put that roster together?
Yeah. So the biggest thing was to wait on quarterback and not be afraid to get tight end. So, we went running back, tight end, running back, and then just loaded up on wide receiver so that we can fill those 3 slots. In fact, actually, our third running back is Eckler. Then we have Hunt and Mostert. So we've got guys that could play if we need them to, but I think we're going to be very wide receiver heavy as we launch into that league.
Which is amazing, because this is why I love fantasy football, is that Danny and I did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So one of us is going to get to the top of the mountain, and
yeah, that's right.
And he's going to look smug at the end of the year, and the other one's going to look down on it, thinking like, "What did we go wrong?" Because we decided to go QB and quarterback early, but we went running back heavy. So we went with the difference makers. We went with the players that we felt could deliver an optimal outcome. So we went Barkley and Williams back to back. Then we took Lamar. We felt pick 32 was pretty good value to take him there, knowing that it was an expert room and you're going to get a bit of extra time on the quarterbacks. But we didn't feel we were going to get one of the elite ones at 52. So we kind of felt like we had to make a move or do what you did and wait. And we thought we had the choice. We could pump it here. So we did. And then we went Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore. Then we went Brian Robinson Jr., Matthew Golden, and then we waited on tight end. So we went Corsten Loveland. We felt we'll chase upside at the tight end position, because we're either going to catch fire with Loveland or it's going to be a disaster. But we kind of know where we're going to be. You can stream the position if you get it right. And then we took a risk at 116 and took Quinshon Jenkins, and then we solidified that by taking his backup Jerome Ford the following pick, because he fell all the way to 137. So with a bit of a wait there, that looks like is a strategy that might work for the news that's broken out this week. And then we thought, well, we better solidify at wide receiver, and we'll just take some guys late because we're a bit shallow at the position. So we went Jack Beach, Wandale Robinson, Brandon Cooks. None of them particularly sexy. We took Darren Waller as our last pick because we went 3 tight ends, thinking, well, if Waller ends up coming out of the gate here and smashing it, then we really have a good chance. Considering there's a lack of competition in Miami on what happened with Johnny Smith last year, there's a chance that could happen. Right? Last pick, 221. If it doesn't work, it's not cost us anything. And then we backed up with Jared Goff just to get a bit of solidity for the bye week.
So let me ask you a question. Where did you have CMC?
I'd see him like if I'm in this type of format with experts trying to win, I'd have taken CMC over Gene T. And the reason why,
but you took what? So you have CMC.
I have CMC too on my board.
But I thought you said Juku Williams.
Oh, we took Barkley first.
And Williams was gone by the time I got you.
So CMC was gone by when we picked again. I'd have loved CMC. But we took
time
Kyron
for me.
Williams.
Sorry.
We took Kyron Williams in the
that makes total sense.
Yeah. So we took Barkley as the top player on our board.
Yeah, I got you.
See, I think again, we've gone high risk, high reward, which I think is one way or the other. I just think I'd rather not leave anything on the table. Right.
That's good.
I'd rather sort of just go for it. And if it's wrong, it's like, well, they took a shot. It didn't happen. I think sometimes you get into a league, you get a bit intimidated, whether it's a charity league or whatever league. And I think you can play a bit safe. I think you can sort of just pick players that don't have any upside or don't have any pathway to success. Like I think what you said earlier around, you take rookies, so they've got this pathway to success. It might not be immediate, but there's a pathway to them being successful. I think that's a so much better approach than taking a player who is going to finish at the 50th percentile level. Like you'll get some performance out of them, but there's no ceiling. It's kind of why would you do that? It's in this scenario. Now there are scenarios where picking those players kind of makes sense. But I think in rosters where you're trying to win, you have to take some shots. And I think, the tournament play, as you sort of mentioned, you got to be fluid. You got to take your chances. You got to just sort of like, I don't understand the people that draft off ADP.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
It's basically, if you're drafting off ADP, again, you're telling the room that who you're picking and when. You need to kind of have this situation where you are just picking the players you think are the right players, and ADP doesn't matter. If you reached, like, I hate the term reach. You reached for that player. Did I?
Yeah, exactly.
According to who?
Yeah.
According to who did I reach? To ADP? To draft experts on Fantasy Pros? Or like, and does it like, and the great example is Alvin Kamara this year. So I've been taking Alvin Kamara pretty much in the third round all year. You took him in the third round. Right. Yeah. Now, to ADP, to everything else, that's a reach, right? On my board, he's not. It's how you want to play the game. So, like, don't worry about the reaches.
How much of the reach is defined on what team they're on? Like Kamara, he doesn't have a quarterback, full stop. Like, they're going to have to run the bar, right? They're not going to throw it downfield all day. He's going to get 2 runs every single deal. Maybe the pass on third down if it's short. Like, I'm afraid to draft Olave. Like, is he really going to get more than 6 attempts a game? Like, I just don't see it.
So I went on a show in this country with the Nat Coombs podcast, and I talked about Tyler Shook. And actually, for what Kellen Moore wants out of his quarterback and what he wants out of a quarterback and a play caller, like Tyler Shook in this draft was a perfect fit. He's a perfect fit for what Kellen Moore wants out of a quarterback, which is why they took him in the second round.
Right.
The question marks around Tyler Shook are he's mid-20s. He played less than 1,000 snaps despite playing 7 years in college.
It's hard to do.
It's just hard to do. And he is injury prone. So the question marks.
His line's questionable.
Yeah, the line's questionable. And I mean, it's a poor team. I just think that, they will have to run the football. But I just think, who are the playmakers on that team? Right. They're Chris Olave. I don't mind taking Chris Olave because he's such a value. And the competition for targets is nil. There's no Taysom Hill. Juwan Johnson can't stay healthy. And then you've got a aging, diminishing Brandon Cooks, who I have taken, by the way, in the Kings Classic, because I just think if Chris Olave gets a concussion, Brandon Cooks is wide receiver 1. And his competition for targets is Bub Means and Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get the ball. Like, it's just... that situation is so bad, you might as well pick the players on there that are going to do something, because there has to be some form of statistical play on that roster, and I just think that's what's going to be crucial. I think it's interesting. Like, I look at that team and think that it's going to be bad, but I think that there's going to be some bright spots for it.
So, you talk about get your guy, and I think that's huge. Like Cook, for example, like nobody really wanted him 2 weeks ago. He was dropping down draft boards. Now that he signed his contract, he's flying up draft boards. Well, if he was your guy a couple weeks ago, you got the same guy that you're going to have to pay a lot more for now, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why when you build your tiers, you put that effort into getting that organized, you just stick with it. And I talk out of both sides of my mouth. I didn't draft Junkins because I didn't know what his moral, legal issues were going to be. Like, I didn't know if he actually was in big trouble or if it was going to disappear. And it disappeared, so he's fine. But, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one, right? But I think you have to price in all outcomes. In drafts, they've been getting him in the 10th round, 9th round, and I think, well, he's going about pick 100. I'm sitting there thinking, well, if he's going about pick 100, that is a easy piece to replace off the waiver wire. It's kind of we're so far down, the majority of your starting lineup is set. The pieces around there's a few good pieces, but there league-winning pieces around that range. No. Yeah. But if you're getting the Browns starting running back in that range and he starts, the positive, the negative range of outcomes is massive. And I think that's where you've got to take some risks. Now, people don't want to pick him for moral reasons. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to play, but, I've been taking a lot of him because he was priced into a value that was it was too crazy not to. It's the same with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is an interesting player he fell down the 4th round in drafts earlier in the summer. And I just had to take him even though I didn't want him. Because at some point you've got to just, and Joe Pierce says this best, you've got to price him for us. You can't let the value continue to fall down the board.
Right.
At some point, even if you don't want that player, it's not a player that you would have gone into the draft thinking you were going to take. The value and the range of outcomes versus how you like your team, that sways in a fluid motion. And so taking a guy like Tyreek Hill, thinking, well, this guy's a league winner. Like he can return, since 2022, only Justin Jefferson has more 100-yard receiving games than Tyreek Hill. The situation will be better for him this year versus last year. Yeah. So it is interesting. Like I just look at that and think there is situations where you need to you need to sometimes get uncomfortable and do something that feels uncomfortable because it's optimal for the team. And I think that's what's really crucial.
And I have Addison in almost every league because I know if I can survive 3 weeks, I'm getting like a RB30 instead of RB50. What is he? He's like 47 or something now. He's a lot better. Yeah,
I'm falling. Like, he's a value in drafts now. Like he's exactly what you say. He's gone from being someone that was so, competitively priced to, well, now with this, I'm not so sure, to now, I'll grab him everywhere at that price because you're getting a top 24 wide receiver for the rest of the season. You've just got to take 3 weeks of pain.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you
can. So how do you view the national media in relation to drafting players? So as a Vikings fan, okay, last year the national media said, stay away from Jefferson, stay away from Addison, stay away from Hawkinson, because our quarterback is Sam Bradford. Not Sam Bradford. Golly,
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. They both play for the Vikings. It is horrific. Like, he's never been good. Stay away. Yeah. And a year after, our coach, man, I'm losing names today. Kevin, I want to say Seifert. That's the beat reporter. A year after our coach made the Pastronaut successful for 3 weeks, they say he can't do anything with Donald. And now we've got McCarthy, and people are saying, yeah, but he's never done it. Dude, he won a national championship. And when we're healthy, he's got Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Jones, maybe Madison, some out of the backfield. Like, he's got targets everywhere. Like, so when the national media says, well, we can't depend on him because he's never done it, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes the narrative moves things so far, it gets a little ridiculous. And I'm a Vikings fan, so I take it personal. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've talked about this for many years, that there are some things that I find very interesting in the psychology of fantasy football. And in the words of the national media, anyone that kind of moves a needle, right, there's a narrative that is being spun, right, for whatever reason. Most of it's for clicks and for views. Most of it's to get an opinion, to get another job. There is unless they're an ESPN, unless they're someone who's incredibly stable in their job, you have to look at, there's nefarious reasons as to why comments are made in the media, right? And there is, and I'm not saying it's all false, by the way, but timing and the way that things are put without full context in order to attribute further clicks and national attention onto their piece. Right? Even taking all of that out, I'm one of these people that I loves to lean against the grain. Right? I just think that when you play fantasy football, you have to be different, right? And I think, especially in today's world, everybody's looking for consensus, right? Everyone wants a consensus. Everyone wants to feel a level of acceptance about their team, that they want to win drafts, that they want validation that they made the right decisions. And all of these pieces, and you see it on drafts all the time. How did I get on? What did you think? And you see, and they're looking for validations of their drafts online, right? And that's fine. I'm not necessarily against any of that if that's kind of what drives you, but I go completely the opposite way. I actually would be annoyed if people really liked my drafts. On the whole, like I don't mean like those lists that come out, for Scott Fishbowl. If mine came out I said this to you last week at the end of the King's Classic, like I'm actually not that happy that ESPN liked my drafts more than anybody else's, because I feel like you got a bit of a kiss of death there. But I also feel like on top of that, I just feel like I haven't probably done something right. Like I like to be the contrarian play. And actually, I want people to not like my draft because it means I've done something different. I've done something that makes people feel a bit uncomfortable. I remember a charity draft. I think it might have been the JTT Cup. And I'm pretty sure I fired out. I think I started tight end. I'm pretty sure that is
that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is how I started. I'm going to look this up. I'm pretty sure I started tight end. And people looked at me like I'd absolutely lost the plot. And I was like, well, I'm just looking at the scoring. And I just see a deviation here away from everybody else. And I just feel like, no, I'm sorry. It's not quite right. I started QB, tight end, running back, tight end, quarterback, running back, tight end. I started with 5 tight ends in the first 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And people thought I was crazy. People thought I was nuts. And I'm like, good, that's what I want you to think, because I've done something that is different to everybody else in the room. So everybody had got, by round 10, I think no other team had taken 2 teams had taken 2. The other teams had taken 1. One team had taken none.
Yeah.
And I've got 5. It's like, so I've built the team different.
And they're actually frustrated with you because they were planning on taking number 4 and 5 from you and putting them on your team, and now they're stuck.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you take 5 tight ends? It's like, well, because you only have to start 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and in all the other positions, I can start tight ends. And there's a premium in the scoring.
Right.
And I think it's as you say, know your league, know where there's an angle point, but do something different, be bold. And I think that gives you, so like for me, when I hear the media narratives, I tend to want to go the other way. If they're out on play, great example, a couple of years ago, Jamar Chase comes into the NFL. Oh, well, he doesn't know how to catch a football without drawn spirals on it. And this is what I mean. Like, these are the narratives that gets fun, that like players are no good or players are crowned kings and they haven't thrown a football. Like JJ McCarthy doesn't know how to play because he's never done it. Of course, he's never done it. He's a rookie in the NFL. I know it's his second year, but his rookie season was a write-off. He's a rookie in the NFL. Do you know who else hasn't done it in the NFL? Cam Ward. No one's talking about him like he can't do it. Like, it's just ludicrous. Like, we're sitting here writing off guys who haven't thrown a pass in the NFL. Like, let's get real. Like, what's that narrative trying to achieve? And if people want to sit here and drive prices down, great, I'll buy it at those prices. If people want to lean into a narrative that's purely fictitious and ridiculous, then great. Like, all for me. I'll go the other way. Like, if everyone's going wide receiver, I want to go running back. Give me the differential. Don't go chasing runs. Go the other way. Like, I think if you're contrarian, you're always going to end up with a better opportunity, because if you build your team like everybody else builds their team, you're all in competition for the same players at the same time.
Right.
So you're all picking from the smaller group of players, a smaller pool of players. You end up all cannibalizing each other. If you do something different and you're following a different path, you're going to have more sort of greenfield to pick the players you want. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's me.
Not 100%.
I like to be contrarian. I like to be different, and I don't like anybody sort of doing things the way I do things. If they do, then great. But it's like it's got a fishbowl this year. I put all my draft rankings out there for people to view, and I still walked away with most of the guys I wanted. Mm-hmm. So people obviously looked at them and went,
I mean,
this guy doesn't
Scott
know
Fishbowl
anything.
was positionless this year. It was amazing. Exactly. And people are drafting quarterback. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, they're going to score like number 55, and there's 20 guys above them, and you're taking a quarterback because you always take a quarterback in the third round.
Yeah,
it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I think it's a really clever way of doing things, and I think that's what's important when you're looking at your strategy. You've got to do something you're comfortable with, but you've also got to be a bit uncomfortable with it too. I think if you feel too comfortable in it, then I don't know about you. Here's a question for you. Do you feel when you walk away from drafts that you are mostly happy with the teams you built, or do you feel that there's always room for improvement?
Oh, I definitely feel like there's room for improvement because I get sniped. Just kidding. Yeah, the next day I kind of look at my team and think, man, why did I do that here? I could have had him. And, it just kind of gets I think I like the exercise. I think so. As draft season goes on, I like my teams more and more. I don't know if that answers your question, but it seems like I look, except for FFCC where I forgot to draft kickers. It just seems like I'm building teams that I like towards the end. I'm in a draft now. I picked right before we got on, and the guy before me took, I think it was Blue, the running back from the Cowboys. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't take him to the third round. What are you doing? But he saw something in Blue I don't see. And that's what makes it fun. But that he does that leaves Jenkins or whoever available for me a few picks later. So I think seeing where values seem to be as the season progresses is fun for me. And I think I like it when my plan comes together. I get a little frustrated when my plan doesn't come together. So like getting Addison, I'm fine because I know now I just need to get an extra wide receiver, and I'll hide for 3 weeks and see if I can go 2-1 and then get the train rolling.
That's fair. So let me ask you this then: who are your guys? Who are the guys you're walking in trying to target in a pretty standard league? How would you like to, by design, walk away with your team?
So I would like to wait. If we look at quarterbacks, I would love to wait till McCarthy. I'm actually fine doing that. I honestly haven't looked at Stroud much this year because he's going after McCarthy. But I literally could wait till like 12 to 15 on a quarterback. I never really draft early, so I don't get a shot at Robinson, Barkley, or Gibbs. And actually, I haven't got one share of Brown this year, which is a little frustrating. It seems like I got a lot of Irving, and I've got some Taylor and some Walker. Seem to be the guys I get. Neighbors, it's the whole quarterback thing. I like Neighbors. I think he's going to be good. I just don't know who's going to give him the ball. I have a feeling Wilson's going to be the Wilson he's been the last 3 years, and I wouldn't really want Neighbors in the playoffs if that was the truth. And it just seems like wide receiver is deep this year. I've got a lot of Nakuda. I've got a lot of London. I've got a lot of Thomas. So I've got kind of that end as well. Hey, look, I'm getting more McBride and Bowers than I usually had, but I'm glad to wait till Hawkinson. A lot of people think he's like 7 to 10. I think he's 3 to 5. So I would be glad to take him. one of the guys, and it may be because I moved to Tennessee, but Okonkwo is a guy I like a lot as a kind of a late pick. Kraft, I'm kind of into as a midterm, but again, he plays for the Packers, and that's hard for me. I like waiting on Shaheed and Mooney. Allen, now that he's signed, I think I would like some of him. In the middle rounds, Ridley I like a lot. Myers I love. I have him on a lot of teams. Rice, I don't have much. I do have one team, keepers team. I have Rice and Addison, so I'm just going to be hurting for a while.
Well, I think Rice could play the first 3 games and then get suspended, so that might work out.
There you go. Yeah, but then I'm still down 1 for 6 more games. But anyhow, yeah, I'm loving. Kind of the sweet spot for me is Kamara, Montgomery, Connor. If I can get one of those guys too, it's good. So those are some of the guys I'm targeting in those tiers.
Nice. And so, I mean, that's going to be helpful to a lot of the guys listening to this. If you want to listen to a serial winner, then there's some names there. Get yourself pen and paper. Make sure you drop those down. You just reverse back and go back 2 minutes and write all those names down, because this man wins a lot. So this is who you're going to want to be picking. Final couple of minutes before I let you go here. What would you say are some key strategies to people to win this year? I know you've mentioned a few about being fluid and the team that you draft isn't going to win your waiver wire, but are there any more sort of tips and tricks that you can give the boys and girls at home an opportunity to sort of pick your brain and take here?
Yeah, I think, sleepers, people are saying sleepers not a thing anymore. Everybody knows. And that's mostly true. But I think when you look at the dynamics of what's happening in training camp, it's more important to me now than it's been in the past. Injuries, those kind of things. For example, Omarion Hampton, but if Dobbins' eye is really messed up and he's not going to play, he's going to get a lot more run. And that's important to know. So little things like that. Thornton is a guy really late from Las Vegas, just because they don't have anybody to throw the ball to other than Myers. So, in Bowers. But maybe he's a great pick late. He could fly up draft boards or fly up in points very quickly. So I would say look for explosive guys that you really like in the last 2 or 3 rounds. Before you take your defense and kicker. I've actually listened to you. I don't draft kickers or defense till the last rounds anymore. Nice. It took me a while to figure out I could win if I didn't take the Vikings in the 14th round or something like that. So, and now they're supposed to have a really good defense. So we'll see. But so I think those are things that I'm kind of looking forward to now. Seems like I've got some sports, either fantasy football radio on Sirius or some TV show, just kind of listening to what's going on and trying to pick up an extra tip here and there. And I guess, well, I'll just leave it there. Picking
that osmosis up, just listening to folks and and I think that's it. I think, it's really important to just do something that you think is right and following your belief. I think, it's fine to get all the information. I've got absolutely no problem with getting all the information, listening to different sources, but you got to do what makes sense for you, right? I think that's the real crucial part. It's your team. It's not an analyst team.
Yeah, I think if you're not in many leagues, I would do some mocks just to kind of see what the flow is, where they go most of the time. I wouldn't just do one mock because that won't tell you a whole lot. But if you do 5 mocks and you see a guy's dropping 2 rounds before, you can wait and pick them up. Those kind of things are helpful. A lot of the guys that mock don't really know what they're doing, so sometimes it's not helpful. But if you're looking for certain traits and trends, doing some mocks, I think is very good. I did about 10 mocks last night for my home league. It's only a 10-team league, but I kind of want to see if one of the guys could get there in the second round. I can't say who because my wife's listening over there, and that woman's good at fantasy football. I mean, there's been, I think I won my home league 3 times, and she beat me. She was the only person that beat me 2 of those 3 years. Dang it. Yeah. So yeah, I think mocks can be helpful if you just kind of want to see what's going on.
Yeah, I think that my only issue with mocks, is it doesn't predict the chaos of a home league.
Exactly.
It's going to do what expert leagues do. It's not going to do what it's not going to have that guy that goes quarterback round one in a 1 QB league. And like all of a sudden, this is wrong. It's gone.
It's Mahomes. Yeah.
Mahomes has gone 102.
He was great 3 years ago. I'm going to take him. I can't believe he's still there. No, I shouldn't make fun of those guys. I was that guy at one time. So.
Never stop, man. I gotta say.
Let me say, I hope I've been clear. Like, I follow a lot of guys. I talk to a lot of guys. I get advice from experts. Like, it's a little weird to sit here and say I'm the champion, because the year I did it good in Scott Fish, it's because Dave Richards helped me. One of the years I won King's Classic, I got some help from just went blank on his name. Gosh, me and names today are not a good thing. Jim Coventry. So it's not really me. Don't be afraid to ask experts questions, right? Murf and I talked one round of the draft about 2 days ago for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What are you leaning? I don't know. You want me to avoid that guy? You want me to take him? No, I'm just kidding. But how do we just? I think most experts don't have a time to talk to a lot of people. But if you can get in a Discord channel or something, yeah, pick their brains, man. Those guys are there to help you win leagues. I would love to do it if I could help you as well.
Mate, you will do. There's definitely people listening who have benefited from the advice you've given. You're selling yourself short. You're the reigning Warrior Bowl champion. Like, at the end of the day, there's only five people that can say that.
Right, yeah.
And there's only 5 of us that can say we finished as runners up. So we're an elite club,
Yeah, hey, let's just you take one belt this year, Knights, and I'll take the other one. And we'll go from there.
I'm fine with that. I'll do the deal now. Forget everyone else.
We're in the same 2 leagues in Towers too, so maybe we should split those while we're at it.
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. Like, I'll split everything with you. I'm fine. Like, I think I'll be honest, man. I'd probably sacrifice everything for a King's Classic belt. Like, I feel like that's the one. So 3 years ago, there were like. I don't count like the charity leagues. I think the chances of winning those are so like minute, right? It'd be great to win, like, don't get me wrong. But I said like there's certain leagues I want to win, right? I want to win the 5-year rush champion of champions, right? Because I host the damn thing and I haven't won. We run the UFC league, which I do, which is 4 different formats, 4 different draft formats in the season. So it's 4 weeks change, 4 weeks change. You were in that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that's a tough league. So I said, I want to win that. I want to win the champion of champions. I want to win the home league, which has not won for many years. And then I want to win the King's Classic. And 3 of those 4 have manifested. And 2 of them aligned at the same time. But the King's Classic is the one that escapes me. That's the one I want to put together this year. But I know I'm going to have to go through you in a great field. And I'd love to do it in the year that John Hansen's in it. So that would be amazing. But it's not about me. It's about everyone else here. It's about you, my friend. Tell everyone where they can interact with you. This has been, I can't believe we're going an hour and 4 minutes. It's been, that's gone so quickly, my friend. So much great advice, so much great conversation and debate and thoughts. It's really, I think, even though we've got very different styles and opinions in constructing our teams, our values and our cores are exactly the same in how we view and outlook things. And I think that's what's special about this community. And you're a real OG for me. You're someone who I love with so much everything I've got, man. Like, your family to me. So it's great to have you on here at last. It's been too long. We'll get you back on soon. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can interact with you, where they can ask you questions and pick your brains to go deep in tournaments this year.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm only on Twitter. I don't do anything else. So if you want me, it's at Springboks FFC, And be glad to answer your messages or any questions I can.
Please do. He's in a lot of leagues, in a lot of my leagues. You'll find him anywhere in group chats. He's a phenomenal human being who is doing many, many great things. Really appreciate you coming on, my friend, and joining us. Rush Nation, thanks for joining us on a Friday night and giving up your Friday night to spend it with us to get better. This is where the hard work starts. We are 3 weeks and a bit away from the regular season and the fantasy season. So let's get ready. Let's put those ships in the harbor. I've got a phenomenal guest for you next Thursday. So make sure you tune in. Tune into the NFL pod we just dropped. First episode with Joel and the gang was absolutely fire. Make sure you go check that out. Until then, Rush Nation, sign up for the listener leagues, donate to charity, do all those good things, hug your wife, tell your kids you love them. And until then, Rush Nation, don't forget, as always, keep rushing.